Hey there, YouTube. It's me, guy about to eat his own words. I'm here back with another deck profile, and I gotta admit I was wrong, and it hurts to say that because nothing on the internet is ever wrong, and I said it on the internet, so I don't know what to believe anymore. But I've got a deck profile here for Diaboromon, who I said previously this expansion just couldn't work, and then here I come crawling back to my ex. Well, let's just get into it. So Diaboromon got some support in the Classic Collection, and from there I tried to give it a shot, but I couldn't find a deck that I felt comfortable using the new Diaboromon that came out, which gives all your Diaboromon tokens and other Diaboromon Digimon on the board blocker. And then months later I came back and I said, you know what, let me give this one more try. And so let's take a look at the deck. As always, starting with the level 3s, I've got 4 copies of the BT7 Keramon. So this guy is a searcher. He lets you take a look at the top 5 cards of your deck, and he grabs 1 unknown type Digimon as well as the Tamer card, Sanada Arata, and add 1 of each to your hand. Rest go to the bottom of the deck. You know the deal. Moving along, got the other Keramon here, the BT2 Keramon, who lets you draw a card if you play a Digimon with the same name as this Digimon in Inheritance. Alright, moving along. I've got kind of a weird pick at first, but let me explain myself. I've got 4 copies of Chikurimon from BT6, which has the security effect. If it's checked during security after the battle, de-digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon 1 level. So I run this card because the deck has the Diaboromon, spoilers, Diaboromon with the security effect in there as well. So my thinking was to make the deck very security effect heavy, which means if you swing into this deck, lots of bad things could happen, and this is just one of those with a Chikurimon. Rounding out the level 3s, I've got 2 copies of Chumon. This guy's just good because he blocks your opponent from gaining memory outside of Tamer effects, and these cards are always annoying to hamper your opponent's game plan. Taking a look at the level 4s, I've got 4 copies of Chrysalimon here. This guy on Digivolve lets you play a copy of the Tamer card we got with the other Keramon over here, the Sanada Arata, for free. And then in Inheritance, whenever you play Digimon with the same name as this Digimon, it can immediately attack. So this kind of targets the fact that you're going to be getting a lot of Diaboromon tokens, and if you can swing during the turn that you play them, then this card allows that. Taking a look more Chrysalimon, we've got the BT2 Chrysalimon here, who on your turn, if you play a Digimon with the same name as this one, you get memory +1. Again, 3 copies of this guy. And continuing with the security effects, I've got 4 copies of the Shademon, who also really synergizes well with this deck because he is an unknown type Digimon, which means all the unknown stuff also applies to him. And he becomes a blocker whenever he's checked in security on the board, which maybe helps you stave off damage for a little longer. So moving along to level 5s, I've got 4 copies of the Classic Collection Infelmon here. This guy's great on your opponent's turn. Whenever one of their opponent's Digimon digivolves to a level 5 or higher, you get memory +1, which makes their Digivolve cost a little bit more expensive, which can sometimes end turns prematurely. And additionally, his Inheritance effect gives all Digimon with the same name as this one, plus 2,000 DP. So again, targeting the Diaboromon tokens to make them all 5,000 rather than 3,000. I've also got 2 copies of Infelmon from BT2. This guy, not a bunch of effects, but it does allow you to Digivolve into a Diaboromon for -1 of its normal Digivolve cost. And rounding out the level 5s, I have 2 copies of Weremonzaimon. Why do you have a Weremonzaimon in this deck? He's not even unknown type. Well, sometimes I just need a cheap level 5, and this guy gets the job done. Also, he's a cheap evolve, which means I can go from a 4 to a 5, and maybe even to a level 6 during the turn. Alright, so all this we just talked about is pretty much set up for these guys here. These are the real stars of the show, and that is the 4 copies of Diaboromon that you see right here. This guy on Digivolve allows you to play a token. Once those tokens come onto the board, the idea is to multiply them as much as possible with Tamers and then create a huge board your opponent cannot deal with. Alright, and rounding out the level 6s, I've got 4 copies of the Red-Headed Stepchild Diaboromon. This guy's from the Classic Collection. On security, he drops a token onto your side of the board, and then if you manage to actually play him, on your opponent's turn, all of your Diaboromon tokens get blocker. Rounding out the level 7s, 2 copies of Amagemon. This guy's not super useful with his effects of being able to stop your opponent's level 7 Digimon's Digivolve effects. However, he does have the ability to swing as soon as he's played, and you can play him by destroying one of your Diaboromon tokens or Diaboromon named Digimon and then paying through memory. I really just like this guy because he's a huge 15,000 who denies other big Digimon if your opponent is running some maybe security control or crazy level 7 effect cards. And in a lot of cases, he can just swing with impunity and not be worried about getting cleared. Okie doke. Moving on to some of the options. I've got 2 copies of Catastrophe Cannon here, which allows you to digivolve one of your opponent's Digimon by 2. And then if you have a Diaboromon on the board, you can play another Diaboromon token. I also have a single copy of Catastrophe Cannon in the deck. Digivolves one of your opponent's Digimon by 3. At the same time, it also removes all of your opponent's 3 play cost or lower Digimon from the board. This is really useful for something like Rookie Rush or some of the hybrid decks that are running around with like the Bokomons and the Namons. And so you can destroy the hybrid Digimon and then get rid of all the Boko and Namons at the same time. A bit costly, but sometimes the boards get a little out of control and this helps you handle them. Alright, I also have, rounding out the options here, 2 copies of Iron Fisted Justice. I solely run these cards because I felt in the original run of Diaboromon, the fact that black had no hard removal was a huge detriment. So now I run 2 copies of these bad boys, just so I can remove some Digimon off the board if I don't want to see them there. And of course, this is a Diaboromon deck. I have to have 4 copies of the Sanada Arata. This guy allows you to gain +1 memory if you have an unknown type in your trash. And then on your turn, whenever you Digivolve into a Diaboromon, you can rest as Tamer and generate a 3000 DP Diaboromon token. And there's the deck. There you have it. I hate to say it, but it's actually pretty good. It functions decently well. And there's so many security effects in the deck with, you know, the options, with the Shademon, the Diaboromon, the Chikurimon, that you should make your opponent afraid to actually swing in, because you could get a free Digimon off like a token or a Shademon, or really mess up their game plan with a Chikurimon or one of your options. So the deck is very, very scary to go up against, especially in this meta here. Anyway, guys, if you enjoyed the video, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button. I really appreciate it. Everybody's support really helps. And yeah, I'll catch you in the next one. Hopefully I won't be eating my own words, though. This guy's a searcher. On play, look at the top 5. He lets you get an unknown type or a Tamer. Sarada Arata. Wow, why is that so hard to say?